this is Andrew Bogie with All Product Design.
Larry Robertson with Aon Invent.
We'd like to talk to you a little bit about the difference between an idea or a concept and an invention. Do you ever see people come to you and they think they've got an invention and really they've just got an idea?
Every single day, several times a day.
Yeah.
And we knew that when we opened Aon Invent, we knew from past experience over 2 decades of dealing with invention concepts that we were going to run into that. And it's interesting, but it continues to happen every day.
Right.
Andrew, I think you have an example.
Well, if I was to come to you and say, hey Larry, you've seen these rolls of tape that they sell in the stores, stuff like that. Well, I got this concept, this invention. What it would mean is we take this tape, and if we had a dispenser for it, okay, of some sort, so this was actually sat in a dispenser, and you could just pull a piece off just the right length that you wanted it and use it. That's my invention. What would you say?
I would say it's a good concept. How does it work?
Well, I don't know, but it's going to work. I don't know. There's some way of cutting it off and stuff like that. So there's my invention.
Okay, right there, you've got an idea. At that point, I would say to you that it sounds like a viable idea. So we would probably give that a 2-star.
Right.
But it's not yet commercially viable because you haven't shared a substantive explanation that will allow us to transform that into an invention.
So when I get to the stage and say, well, there'll be a spigot that's going to run through the core of this, and there's going to be a serrated blade that will be at the end, so you can pull this out, keeping this under tension, cut it off at that point, at the length that you want. At that point, I'm in the realm of having an invention.
You're getting much closer. The thing I would recommend at that point is to utilize the services of maybe a friend, family member, a local design company, if you have one available, or very easily to transfer the call right over to your company, All Product Design. Yeah. You guys work with consumer product companies every single day.
Absolutely.
You have literally hundreds of millions of products right now in production and in engineering and design phases. You can very quickly, with probably a 5-minute phone call in many cases, in an ideation session, maybe it takes longer than that, to wrap your head around the inventor's concept so that you can then flesh that out. You might explain that process.
Yeah, essentially what we're going to start off with is a short phone call with yourselves, understand the idea. Larry will also engage with us after he's had a consultation with you as well and his team. And so we get a really good idea of the concept and where you're heading on that. We'll then bring our crew together, we'll go through some ideation and consider, we know where you're heading, what's the best that this product can be, because we always want to make things as good as they possibly can be, and we're essentially partnering with you at this point. We'll then do the engineering CAD design work, maybe not a finished CAD at this point, but prove the principle, get this piece working, and from that we'll be able to extrapolate the patent drawings and everything like that are going to be needed, and liaise with the in-house patent staff that we have here.
Because keep in mind that the patent is totally dependent, the quality of the patent and the protection that it's going to offer us all long term is going to be totally dependent upon the specifics, the claims of that patent, and the individual points that we're identifying as the invention. Okay? I mean, it's not a dowel rod stuck through a roll of tape. That's not an invention. So it will be the interaction between you, the inventor, Andrew and his team, or another engineering firm, a design firm if you choose to, that can help you get to the point where you'll have an actual invention that you can then come back and submit to Aon. We'll take another look at it. If you've already submitted it, whether it's a free submission or a paid submission, we'll take another look at it. And if you've paid for that submission, there's no additional charge for that. And if it is at that point a 3-star item, then we can submit it into that 3rd and final step. Whatever level of engineering and design help that you need, if you choose to work with All Product Design, that's between you and All Product Design. In most cases, it may be anywhere from a few $100s to a few $1,000s. In some cases, more than that. We just had an example with an individual who had really a fantastic idea, a strong 3-star item. We both fell in love with it immediately. But he took a lot of the burden on himself and spent well above $250,000 to get the item there. And we calculated that had he come in initially through Aon, and if we had evaluated that product, that idea at $249, that we would have pointed out, okay, you need a lot of engineering and design help to really flesh this concept out. If we would have turned that over to APD, he probably would have had about $25,000 invested in that product to get it to where it is now. But now he has more than 10 times that amount in it, more than $250,000, well more than $250,000. In some cases, what we're seeing on an average is probably $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 worth of engineering and design work, and that's to actually get a raw idea from an individual's head and get it to the point where we can actually show a 3D presentation of that product that looks nearly like a finished good.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's another service that we have available. It's not a mandatory service. If you can produce that on your own, that's fabulous. But we can take a look and we can let you know exactly what you're going to need during that evaluation service.
Yeah, and essentially what Larry's saying is, if Larry and his crew have done a tremendous job at keeping the Aon prices as low as they possibly can be. If you bring in an invention, then that's the way it goes. If you're bringing in an idea that isn't yet an invention, then one way or another, you need to get it to that stage, either through all product design or through resources that you have at your own disposal.
And from my experience, it's really hard to beat APD's offerings in the way of speed and in the way of pricing, and certainly from a quality standpoint. And frankly, one of the other benefits is if APD does the concept presentation in CAD, for example, it lends itself for a very smooth transition and refinement to the tool-ready phase. Andrew, why don't you speak to the differences there? Because I think inventors are often confused that a CAD drawing is a CAD drawing,
right?
And we know that's not true.
No, exactly. But I'll say this: very few of the CAD drawings that we receive in here to do processing on in one way or another are actually manufacturing ready or anywhere near. The manufacturing process hasn't been fleshed out. The details that would necessitate demolding and whatever the different aspects would be aren't there. The design is very often problematic and hasn't been proven and tested and stuff like that. So it really is. You need to make sure that whoever you're using really understands the process through and through. Otherwise, you're going to end up with something very substandard and will affect you further down the road.
And then when you're looking at, in many cases, a CAD file, you may look at two images that look very much the same.
Yeah.
One image has embedded in it virtually all of the measurements, all of the specifications, and the other one is simply an image.
Right.
Maybe touch on that for a moment.
Yeah. I mean, depending on which programs it was created in and those kinds of things, there's a difference. A lot of things can look identical and stuff like that, but they're impossible to pull engineering, geometry out, and those things that you need. So you kind of know what you're looking at in those respects as well.
Appreciate you, Andrew. Thanks for explaining that. We appreciate all of our submissions. We look forward to talking with each of you soon and seeing your ideas submitted into step 2.
Thank you.